Welcome to part 57 of Was I in a Cult? Quick recap. So in the last episode, I was talking about how I had started hanging out with my friend Arlene, and we had been going out to gay bars and clubs for a couple of months, and then we decided to go to Gay Pride. I was 21 and I had never even known there was such a thing as Gay Pride, if you can believe that. Like I said, visibility in the 90s was very scarce. So I was super excited to find out that there was this huge event that took place every year for the LGBTQ plus community. I didn't even know the center existed, like the LGBTQ plus center. I didn't know there was such a thing. So when Arlene and I got to the parade, I was just like overwhelmed by everything, just seeing all of the people in the Gay Pride parade. And then afterwards, there was this huge festival and there was this big old line, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, these are all my people. So we're walking into the Pride Festival, and lo and behold, I see a bunch of protesters with a bunch of signs. And they are the Christians that are protesting against the Gay Pride event. This got me so angry because it's like, you know what? Stay in church. Like, why do you gotta come out here and bug people? I was like, I came here to get away from all this judgmental crap that I was going through with the church, and there it is all over again. But I will say that the amount of LGBTQ plus individuals far outnumbered the amount of protesters that were there, and they looked like completely silent compared to us. So we just ignored them and passed by, and we went on our own way and never saw them again because they weren't allowed inside. So once we got inside of the festival, we no longer had to deal with that crap. Because God forbid a Christian should actually pay $20 to go inside of the Pride Parade. Because then they might be looked at as though they were there for the wrong reasons. And of course they didn't want to support a Gay Pride Parade with finances or money at all. So I think one of the most shocking things to me when I was walking through the Pride Festival was that I saw that there were churches that were not just accepting of the LGBTQ plus community, but affirming, and churches that were being led by lesbians and gay people. And I thought, wait, is that a thing? How does that work? And I remember looking at Arlene and going, Arlene, there's churches here? Like, what? And then she's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of gay churches. And I'm just like, I've never heard of that. Like, gay churches? I'm like, that's interesting. And then I kind of wanted to go to one of their booths and talk to them, but like, I don't think Arlene wanted to do anything with that. So I just was like, I'll check that out later. And honestly, I had had such a bad experience with church that I really didn't want anything to do with church anymore. And there was this piece of my mind, because I was so indoctrinated by this church cult that I was in, that my little other side of my mind was like, they must be really lost because they believe it's okay, and the Bible clearly says that it's not. And that was like this piece of me that was in my mind because of the indoctrination from the church cult. It wasn't like my own thoughts, it was everything that had been planted in my mind for the longest time in our church, that being gay was an abomination, that it was sinful, and all of that Christianity was against it. entirely. And so I didn't think at the time that there were any Christians that believed it was okay to be gay. And I surely didn't believe or understand how there could be churches that were actually not only accepting but affirming of homosexuality. And they actually would do like gay ceremonies and weddings and things like that. I mean, it wasn't legal at the time. It still wasn't legal. This was like 1997, so gay marriage was not even legal, but people still had weddings and still had ceremonies. In fact, we went to a few. I remember going to one of my friends' weddings, and it was just like an actual wedding, but it was just not legal. And they had someone, like a friend of them, just kind of like do a little ceremony, but it was different, but it wasn't legal. It's been such a long time. I don't remember if they actually had it anywhere. I don't think we went to the actual ceremony part. We only went to like the hall where they got married and where they had like the reception. So I don't remember if we saw their vows or how that worked, because obviously there was no churches that were going to be willing to do that. Not even the gay and lesbian churches could do that because it wasn't legal yet. So basically any church wedding at the time was kind of like under the radar because it wasn't legal, and it was more of like a ceremony but without paper. I mean, I think at the time they did have like domestic partnerships. So, you know, when they would just want to have something similar to a wedding, you know, for their friends and family to come to. And so they did have some of those. Just like the first one that I actually saw on television was on Friends. And I think that was around like 1997 as well. And I think that's how a lot of people got the idea, is from that show, because they're like, well, hey, we can still have a wedding. It doesn't have to be legal, but we can still, it doesn't have to be on paper, but we can still have a wedding. We can still celebrate the union of two people. The show Friends was so popular at the time that I think that it probably really was influential in the gay and lesbian community, because I think that people would see the show and think, we don't have to wait for it to be legal for us to celebrate our union. And I think that was really a big step towards actually making gay marriage legal. I mean, it really wouldn't even become legal till like 10 years later. And then even when it did become legal 10 years later, it would turn around and be banned for like another 5 years. Okay, I just looked that up because I wanted to be correct. So gay marriage actually became legal in California in 2008, but then it got banned, and then it didn't become legal again until 2013. So I know that's probably different for every different state, but I'm talking about California because that's where I'm from. So anyways, back to the Pride Festival in 1997. I had the time of my life, and I was just like, we should have this every month. It shouldn't just be once a year. And we are lucky in California to have so many different Pride festivals around the state. That year we went to the one in Long Beach, and we also went to the one in WeHo. Both events were life-changing for me. There was a main stage, and there was like 5 or 6 different stages with different DJs and different music, and there was something for everyone there. I went to so many booths, and that's where I found out about the Gay and Lesbian Center, and I was just like, wow, like there's a whole center dedicated to helping the LGBTQ plus community. I knew that I would never feel alone again as an LGBTQ individual.